In Ginny and Georgia, it's us against the world.
Season 3 is about to drop, so before it does, we're recapping the biggest moments from seasons 1 and 2.
A lot happens. Sex, lies, murder, slam poetry.
Let's get into it.
Our story starts when Georgia's husband Kenny dies of a heart attack. Poor Kenny. Well, rich Kenny. And Georgia gets all his money, which sure his ex-wife is salty about.
Giving poor Davy's inheritance to that trash.
Georgia's a force, and if there's one thing she's gonna do, it's eat the pain and move on, which means it's time for Ginny, her brother Austin, and Georgia to leave Texas and find Ginny's 12th home this time in the idyllic Massachusetts town of Wellsbury. Kinda random.
Well, hold on. Georgia didn't pick Wellsbury by throwing a dart at a map. She's had it in her mind since she was a pregnant 15-year-old on a rest stop break with her motorcycle gang. A Wellsbury High School field trip was also at the rest stop, where a sweet young man gave Georgia half his sandwich and his Ray-Bans. When he got back on his bus, Georgia decided to give her baby daughter Ginny the kind of life those Wellsbury kids had, at any cost. So yeah, Georgia did kill Kenny, but no regrets, and she'd do it again. He forced Georgia's hand by laying a finger on Ginny.
Kenny, I got it.
Dinner's ready.
Georgia had a horrifying childhood, and she'd do anything to protect her kids like no one protected her. Besides, Ginny never has to know the lengths Georgia went to in order to get them to Wellsbury. Georgia is a pro at keeping secrets.
She talking to the cops?
Cops? Why would she talk to cops?
What they don't know, they can't use against you.
Ginny isn't so sure about this new town at first, but there are some promising early signs. She makes an impact on her first day at Wellsbury High by standing up to a self-righteous, racist English teacher. There are 16 books on this syllabus.
Yes.
14 of them were written by men, 15 were written by white people. And I'm willing to make a guess that the one black author will crop up in the syllabus just in time for Black History Month, earning the admiration of Max and Hunter in the process. Max quickly decides Ginny is her new bestie and introduces Ginny to her other best friends, Abby and Nora. Together, they become Mang. Max, Abby, Nora, Ginny. Max is an extroverted, high-energy, big feelings musical theater girly. Abby is deadpan and sarcastic, but a secret softie who keeps her struggles to herself. And Nora is cautious and non-confrontational. She'd rather spend quality time with her boyfriend than get involved in drama. Hunter wastes no time asking Ginny out, and they become boyfriend and girlfriend.
I was wondering if you wanna maybe be my girlfriend.
But feelings are hard. Hunter's a sweetheart who has no problem showing Ginny how much he likes her, but he can't compete with Marcus, Ginny's hot, artsy, moody neighbor. Marcus has a thing for stealthily climbing through Ginny's window, and you get the idea. Plus, he just gets the dark parts of Ginny, and she hides that from her friends. Incidentally, Marcus and Max are twins, but Ginny keeps her romance with Marcus a total secret. It's very Georgia of her. Ginny and Marcus grow closer while Ginny keeps dating Hunter. Max gets excited when she thinks that she'll lose her virginity to her girlfriend Sophie on the same night Ginny loses hers to Hunter. But Max has no clue that Ginny already slept with Marcus. Sneaky.
Georgia also becomes a fixture of Wellsbury right off the bat. She forces her Wellsbury dream life into reality by smooth-talking her way into a job at the mayor's office and then winning his heart. She has a way of doing that. So sure, when Kenny's ex-wife contests the will, Georgia skims a little cash from the mayor's office to get by and makes sure Kenny's body can't be exhumed for an autopsy. Mayor Paul isn't the only man enamored with Georgia. There's also Joe, who owns the local restaurant Blue Farm, where Ginny works and where Georgia goes to flirt. Joe used to have the same Ray-Bans that Ginny borrowed from Georgia. What a coincidence. Oh, Georgia's been forging the letters Austin receives from his dad, who she framed for credit card fraud and embezzlement to get him into jail and out of her life. When Wellsbury's supermom Cynthia starts to figure out Georgia's game, they're quick to become rivals. She's doing what she's got to do to survive.
Ginny doesn't even know a fraction of Georgia's secrets, but every decision Georgia makes affects her and Austin in one way or another. Feeling like a voiceless pawn, she finds her own devastating way to scream, coping with her internal pain by self-harming. Marcus catches her in the act when he comes over to tell Ginny that he loves her. Ashamed of herself, Ginny says the most hurtful things she can think of.
You're incapable of anything real. You're a joke. Now get out.
Marcus is so upset that he crashes his motorcycle and loses his phone, so he doesn't see any of the many apologetic texts Ginny sends.
Slid off the road, so now he has a concussion.
When Ginny's at the Baker house to comfort Max over her breakup with Sophie, Ginny sneaks off to be with Marcus, and Abby catches them.
Things get even more complicated when Ginny's dad Zion rolls into town. He and Georgia never really got over each other, and he wants to make things work this time. Zion's a cool guy, but he's been in and out of Ginny and Georgia's lives while pursuing his photography career. When he sees how happy Georgia seems with Paul, Zion gracefully bows out of the competition for her heart.
Still, he's committed to becoming a consistent dad to Ginny. He starts by getting an apartment in nearby Boston, then introduces Ginny to poetry as a powerful tool for her self-expression.
People don't know, they don't furrow between the layers like I do.
Meanwhile, Paul officially locks it down with Georgia by showing her how much he appreciates her ambition and drive.
I bought that for you right after our first date because I knew that a woman like you only comes around once in a lifetime.
He proposes and she accepts. That's future Mrs. Mayoress to you. Of course, as Georgia's fairy tale seems to be finally coming true, that's when shit really starts hitting the fan. First, Ginny and Austin find all of Austin's unsent letters to his dad, Gil, and Ginny mails them, return address included.
Then, Max finds Marcus's phone and his text thread with Ginny, which shows undeniable evidence of their clandestine thing. Max is gutted by Ginny keeping secrets from her, leading to a huge blow-up where Abby gets caught in the crossfire. Marcus claims that his hookup with Ginny was a mistake, and Hunter breaks up with Ginny and punches Marcus in the face.
It was not.
Damn, who knew Hunter had it in him?
In other heartbreak news, Joe recognizes Ginny's Ray-Bans and realizes that Georgia is the girl he met at that rest stop all those years ago. This gives him the confidence he needs to confess his feelings for Georgia until he sees that she's engaged and keeps his mouth shut. Bleak.
To top that all off, a private investigator named Gabriel, hired by Kenny's ex-wife, has been poking around Wellsbury this whole time, dating Paul's campaign manager as a cover while he digs up dirt on Georgia. And he finds a lot of dirt.
I think your mom is dangerous.
Georgia hasn't done the best job covering her tracks. Gabriel tells Ginny he believes that Georgia killed Kenny, and while Ginny realizes that his theory is probably true, her loyalty to Georgia is unbreakable. She tells Gabriel to beat it, then burns the plant her mom used to poison Kenny.
So it's Georgia 1, Gabriel 0, for now. He's not the kind of guy who gives up easily.
Fed up with her mom's secrets at the end of season 1, Ginny steals Marcus's bike, takes her brother, and flees to Zion's apartment in Boston.
Season 2 picks up 2 weeks after season 1 ends. Ginny is camped out at Zion's and having nightmares that Georgia wants to smother her with a pillow. Huh? Georgia would never do that to Ginny.
Well, with everything in her life spiraling, Ginny has her first panic attack. It's a breaking point that gets Ginny to tell Zion about her self-harming.
It's gotten worse.
He sets Ginny up with a therapist, but keeps that detail from Georgia, who's more of a deal with her feelings by ignoring them type.
Do I just talk?
Things are tense between Ginny and Georgia, and Paul thinks it's because he's moving in. Georgia can tell that that's not the reason, but she's not quite sure what is, until she realizes Ginny knows.
Checkmate, Mom.
Horrified that her daughter knows about the monster inside her, Georgia opens up to Ginny and explains why she did what she did and why she has no remorse.
I kept you safe, because that hand doesn't stop on the thigh, and I spent my whole childhood wishing my mom would stop that hand.
Enough, Berna.
It's the kind of honesty Ginny always wanted from Georgia, but it's still hard to swallow. To add to her stress, at school, Ginny is being iced out by Max. But Abby is also being shunned, so at least they're outcasts together. It's MN on one side of the Cold War and AG on the other. Ginny also grows closer to Bracia, who's one of the few other black kids at Wellsbury. Bracia understands Ginny's experience in ways many other people in her life don't, and she's a welcome confidant.
Ginny starts seeing Marcus more regularly. Even though their secret is out to their friends, they're still sneaking around, until Georgia catches Marcus hiding in Ginny's closet.
Marcus, are you in the closet?
Yeah.
Georgia thinks Marcus is a good man, well, boy, but she sees a fellow damaged kid in him and makes him promise not to hold Ginny back from her dreams.
And if you get her pregnant, I'll kill you.
He promises and also lets Ginny know he's not going anywhere. He wants her to be his girlfriend. Aww. Of course, Max gets jealous of the fun Ginny, Abby, and Marcus are all having without her and breaks her silent treatment by confronting Ginny at school. Max's whole take on the drama changes when she learns that Ginny and Marcus weren't hooking up carelessly. They're in love.
So you'd be like my sister-in-law.
Okay, well, that's aggressive, but
Max and Ginny
really
both
sorry.
apologize and they're back to being besties.
Honestly, I've just been hurting so much, like it's leaking out of me like a faucet, and I've been such a bitch, a huge bitchity bitch.
Which is good, because now Max has someone to talk to about her confusing feelings for her ex, Sophie, and her new crush on Marcus's friend, Silver.
Honestly, Ginny doesn't have a ton of capacity for other people's problems. She's still hung up on the fact that her mom is a murderer and that Georgia killed Kenny to protect her. The guilt weighs on her, and since she can't even tell her therapist about it, she expresses herself in a poem about her fear of becoming the monster she was born from, and Georgia hears.
I inherit the sin, and I become the monster that I was born from.
Yikes, dark.
Oh, things get darker. First, Georgia learns that Zion has a new girlfriend, which is crazy, because no one's allowed to get over Georgia, even if she's engaged. Then Austin's dad,
Gil. Shit.
shows up to Wellsbury to worm his scuzzy little way into Austin's life. Georgia had good reason to keep Gil away from her family. He's an abusive dick, and he's trying to blackmail Georgia into giving him some of Paul's money in exchange for his silence about her rocky past.
That's not all. Georgia finds Ginny's diary and is heartbroken to learn that Ginny has been self-harming and that Zion kept it from her. Georgia goes to a therapy session with Ginny and is asked to consider some hard truths, like how her fierce ways of loving Ginny have sometimes hurt her.
I don't like this.
And how dressing as Scarlett O'Hara for Halloween was insensitive to Ginny. Listening isn't the easiest for Georgia, but she's willing to learn. She never wants to do anything to hurt Ginny or push her away. At the same time, Marcus is distancing himself, and Ginny admits she's afraid he doesn't want to be with her. Marcus tells her he doesn't want to leave, but he also doesn't want to hold her back. He lets Ginny go within
It's not you, it's me.
absolutely breaking her heart. What Ginny doesn't know is that Marcus has been slipping into depression and barely holding himself together for a while now. The truth is, Marcus can't care for himself, much less be in a relationship.
Ginny's not the only one with the romance blues. As Georgia and Paul make the rounds of Wellsbury as a newly engaged couple, Georgia can't help but notice that Joe seems off. And it's not because he's spending more time with Cynthia, who has gone from Georgia's nemesis to ally to maybe even friend. When Cynthia learns that Gil was abusive to Georgia, Cynthia does Georgia a solid by making it impossible for Gil to rent an apartment in Wellsbury. Georgia feels for Cynthia, who is caring for her son Zach alone while her husband is slowly dying. Georgia offers a kind ear and hears Cynthia loud and clear when she says,
I want it to be over.
So while Cynthia isn't looking, Georgia gives her 2 helping hands, at least. That's how Georgia sees it. Someone who might see it another way is Austin, who witnesses the whole thing.
That's only the first wild thing that happens in Wellsbury that night. When Georgia gets home, Joe visits and they have the conversation they'd been avoiding since she first arrived. Georgia acknowledges she was the girl from the rest stop, and Joe confesses his feelings for her. He asks her point blank if she's ever thought about the two of them getting together. Georgia tells the truth.
But am I crazy? Am I just making it all up? Did you ever think about it?
Look, you said it yourself. There's nothing I don't think of.
But she's getting married to Paul.
Enraged over being blacklisted by Cynthia, Gil shows up at Georgia's house and attacks her. Ginny and Austin finally see Gil for who he is, and Austin defends Georgia by shooting Gil in the arm. Whoa. Gil flees, and Georgia and Ginny and Austin cover up the evidence before Paul gets home.
Before the wedding, Georgia does something really scary.
Tell him all of it. But what if he doesn't want me?
She gets vulnerable and confesses to Paul that she's been a hustler and a criminal her whole life, just leaving out the murder parts.
You know how you always say you want us to be a team and for me to be honest and you feel like I'm holding back? Okay, well, careful what you wish for.
She's fully ready for him to break off the wedding and have her arrested, but instead, he stands by her side and stands up for her like her real knight in shining armor.
Speak to my wife. You do so through me.
Georgia and Paul get married in front of pretty much all of Wellsbury. It's gorgeous, right out of Georgia's dreams. Until the wedding becomes a nightmare when uninvited guests crash in the most dramatic way.
Georgia Miller, you're under arrest for the murder of Tom Fuller.
Tipped off by PI Gabriel, who suspects Georgia of killing Cynthia's husband, the police show up and arrest Georgia during her first dance with Paul.
Deeply unnecessary and dramatic. And that's how season 2 ends.
The craziest thing is we've only skimmed the surface. Catch up on all of Ginny and Georgia's first 2 seasons now.
Then get into season 3 only on Netflix.